Financial independence, retire early. These words have been at the core of a financial movement that has gained significant traction over the past 15 years. As the FIRE movement's popularity has surged, it's evolved and transformed. The central themes from a decade ago are no longer the same today. I've been following the FIRE movement for over 12 years now, and in this video, I'll highlight the 5 seismic changes in the FIRE movement from over the past decade. Let's start by defining the FIRE movement and providing some important context. The FIRE movement, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early, is a dynamic group of individuals working towards financial freedom. At its core, FIRE emphasizes achieving a level of wealth that allows one to retire earlier than the traditional retirement age. While there are various approaches within FIRE, the common thread is financial independence. This means accumulating enough passive income or investments to cover your expenses without relying on a traditional job. So the FIRE movement challenges this notion that retirement is tied to a specific age. Instead, it suggests that retirement is achievable when you reach your financial independence number. This is the amount needed to sustain your lifestyle indefinitely. This wealth can fund early retirement or provide the freedom to pursue other interests and activities. It's often seen as a counter-cultural movement, contrasting sharply with the prevalent consumerist mindset. For perspective, in a society where 40% of Americans struggle to cover a $400 emergency expense, FIRE advocates for financial resilience and independence. It is worth noting that while FIRE has gained significant traction in the United States, its principles and popularity are spreading globally. The movement's ideas resonate with people worldwide who seek financial security and the freedom to shape their lives on their own terms. So what I've just shared is just scratching the surface of a diverse and evolving movement. That's why I want to highlight 5 major changes that have happened over the past decade. This will not only help us understand the FIRE movement, but also understand where it's headed. And the first change is moving away from emphasizing early retirement. The FIRE movement was once synonymous with early retirement, hence the retire early part in its name. Pursuing financial independence meant aiming to retire early. The early narratives of financial independence often involve those who had achieved it and had retired early. However, as the movement has grown and evolved, early retirement is no longer the main focus. It's now more of an option that a small subset may choose to opt into. I believe this shift is largely due to more people leaving traditional jobs mid-career and then finding renewed interest in productive work. Some early retirees have returned to work not for financial reasons, but for the social and psychological benefits. An example of this is Joel from a blog formerly known as Fi180. The site is no longer active because he has since returned to the workforce. After retiring early, he learned he did not hate work, but he hated the lack of proper work-life balance. When work is no longer the enemy, you start to appreciate the value of having more options, flexibility, and freedom. Sometimes the option to work is better than the absence of work. I've enjoyed watching this evolution in the FIRE movement. It has allowed for a much richer understanding of freedom, and it has also a broader appeal because not everyone wants to stop all productive work in their 30s and 40s. The second shift is that it's no longer a race to FI. When I first learned about financial independence, it felt like a sprint to the finish line. The goal was to achieve financial independence as quickly as possible. Being part of the FIRE movement was synonymous with extreme delayed gratification. The methods for achieving FIRE were increasing your income and, more importantly, slashing your expenses to the bone. There was even one blogger who gained popularity after sharing that he lived on less than $10,000 per year. Eating rice and beans, biking everywhere in any weather, and house hacking were some of the most popular strategies to minimize expenses. Early FIRE advocates took the idea of trading time for money to the far extreme. Everything became a cost, not just in dollars, but in years, months, and even hours that they'd have to work. They began to view the world through the lens of, how much longer will I have to work if I buy this? They even built calculators to determine how much longer you would need to work if you bought a $200 item or a $50 item. These extreme measures turned off a lot of people from FIRE. This was one of the many reasons that my wife Jess was so reluctant to consider pursuing financial independence. This strong association with delayed gratification not only deterred people from joining the FIRE movement, but also led to burnout and people giving up on the movement altogether. Nowadays, FIRE focuses on balancing financial freedom with enjoying life now. It's about building wealth and then leveraging that wealth along the way. The introduction of post-financial independence and slow-fi have been revolutionary in showing us that financial freedom is incremental. It's not all or nothing. Post-fi is the concept of having enough money invested that you no longer need to contribute to your retirement. Time and compound growth will do the rest of the work to fund your retirement. You can now coast to financial independence. And slow-fi is the philosophy that values using the incremental freedom that you build along the path to financial independence to then design a life that you truly love. And if you want to learn more about either of these two concepts, I'll put links to other videos that go into more detail in the description below. Concepts of debt freedom and semi-retirement have also supported the idea that you can take small, incremental steps to gain more freedom today before work becomes completely optional. And because financial freedom is incremental, it's no longer a race to get to FI. While financial independence is still a shared goal in the FIRE movement, what that looks like is no longer the same. This shift has actually contributed to the next major change in the FIRE movement over the past decade. And that is that more and more people are subscribing to this channel. Just kidding. That's actually not it. But if you are enjoying this content, please consider liking the video and hitting the subscribe button. It goes a long way to help us reach more people. The next significant change is the growing diversity of stories within the FIRE movement. Despite early female contributors like Vicki Robin, author of Your Money or Your Life, the FIRE movement was initially strongly associated with tech bros. This isn't an exaggeration either. Many early stories of achieving financial independence and retiring in their 30s and 40s featured male software engineers or other tech industry professionals. On the surface, I guess this made sense. The tech industry is one of the most lucrative thanks to its global reach, high demand for skilled workers, and rapid growth. And with higher compensation, tech professionals had more opportunity to build wealth and achieve financial independence. Believe it or not, this is one reason I didn't consider myself part of the FIRE movement when I first heard about it. While I valued core principles like increasing your savings to gain future freedom, for years I felt like an outsider looking in. I've actually discussed this in other podcast interviews and videos, so I won't delve too deep here, but the limited range of stories within the FIRE movement actually led me to believe it was just for high-income earners following a uniform path to early retirement. Fast forward a decade and the narratives have evolved dramatically. It's no longer just one industry of professionals reaching early retirement or financial independence. The FIRE movement is now far more inclusive and diverse, making it much easier to find a story that resonates with you. As a result, it has become much more approachable and popular. People from all walks of life and various industries are now part of the FIRE movement. As more diverse stories have emerged, the options for how and why to achieve financial independence have expanded. This aligns with reducing the emphasis on early retirement. And it's a big reason why we focused on the Slow-Fi interview series on our blog for many years. We highlighted dozens of stories of people using financial freedom along the path to financial independence. Some have leveraged their financial freedom to spend more time with family, to travel, to start a business, or even make a career change. Financial independence is about gaining freedom and flexibility. What you choose to do with it is entirely up to you. And this leads me to the next change in the FIRE movement. In its early days, the FIRE movement was characterized by extreme frugality. with followers ruthlessly cutting expenses to reach financial independence as quickly as possible. Frugality became a badge of honor. As I mentioned earlier, strategies like eating rice and beans, biking everywhere regardless of weather, and house hacking were some of the most popular ways to minimize expenses. These extreme measures acted almost as gatekeepers. You were part of the club if you embraced them, and an outsider if you didn't. Or so it seemed. Somewhat surprisingly, the FIRE movement has come full circle, now focusing on what truly matters. It's no longer about your savings rate, percentage to FI, or latest net worth. Instead, it's about gaining more control and freedom over how you spend your time. FIRE is ultimately about pursuing happiness and fulfillment, which means spending money on things that bring you joy. For us, that meant buying and converting a camper van for extended travel, purchasing a stand-up paddleboard during a sweltering 90-degree summer, and getting e-bikes to spend more time outdoors. While these purchases may seem like unnecessary splurges to some, they're the things that we truly enjoy. The frugality of a decade ago has evolved into value-based spending, free from judgment about when and where people spend their money. Now, there are some that argue that the FIRE movement has lost its identity, the very thing that initially attracted them to FIRE, but I believe it has simply evolved and now focuses truly on why financial freedom matters in the first place. And that brings me to the final shift in the FIRE movement, the growing importance of community. A decade ago, the FIRE movement was primarily a group of individuals chatting on the internet through blog comments, Twitter, or Instagram. While this online interaction has proven transformative, there's been a growing desire for more tangible connections, accountability, friendships, and face-to-face interactions. And that's why over the past decade, numerous venues have emerged, allowing FIRE enthusiasts to connect in person. For example, we run the annual Slow-Fi retreat in some of our favorite locations. In just a couple of weeks, we'll be hosting a group of 40 people in New Hampshire for our second annual event. But it doesn't stop there. There's also Economy, Camp Fi, Choose FI, local meetup groups, and many more options to connect with like-minded folks in the FIRE movement. This shift towards in-person community is crucial because it's so much easier to take a chance on something or to try something that most would deem crazy when you have a friend encouraging you, or when you know others who have done something similar. The FIRE movement is becoming more connected than ever before. And if you are interested in attending a future Slow-Fi retreat, you can join the waitlist to be the first to know when tickets become available. I'll put a link to the Slow-Fi retreat waitlist in the description below. And if you want to learn more about the origin story of the first Slow-Fi retreat and what makes the Slow-Fi retreat so unique, you can watch our video about hosting the inaugural Slow-Fi retreat here. As always, thanks so much for watching and enjoy the journey.